You are listening to Business Heroine Radio for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. Join the Business Heroine community today at businessheroinemagazine.com. And now, tune into the show.
Hello and welcome. This is Ann Terry here, founder of Business Heroine, and I am super excited to introduce our guest to you today. This is Yarixa Ferrao, also known as Coach Yari. And Coach Yari is a world-renowned, inspirational, and powerful fitness personality. She's been featured on multiple TV and media outlets like MTV, CNN Espanol, Univision, Fitness RX Radio, and Women's Day magazine, and now Business Heroine, lucky for us. So, we're in this weight loss industry that's overly focused on stress and extremes, and Coach Yari really brings a refreshing and loving conversation about weight loss. She's really an inspired innovator and a spiritual, what she calls SoulBody teacher, and is known for her amazing body transformations in her career of over 14 years. So Coach Yari offers the SoulBody Method, which is a freeing and soulful fitness approach that replaces the cookie-cutter, depriving, and restrictive traditional weight loss and body shaping programs that we've all learned about and tried. So the SoulBody Method includes no calorie counting, no harsh dieting or excessive exercise, and it results in faster body transformations that are actually sustainable. Coach Yari, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for inviting me. I'm inspired, I'm inspired to be here. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you. So I can't wait to jump in. I want to talk about the SoulBody Method. I want to talk about you as a business owner who created a business around your own journey. There's so much to talk about. But let's start with the SoulBody Method. How did you come up with this method?
Well, it's been a long, trajectory of 14 years. But I think, if I can share a little bit of my story, how it began with, basically when I was 19 years old, I entered myself into a fitness competition. And, in retrospect, that was really a competition which I thought was, I'm going to get this solid, perfect body. But in reality, it was more of a competition for me to feel protected and to cover up a lot of my wounds and insecurities. But during that process, it was extremely restrictive. I mean, I was working out so much, literally about 3 hours a day, plus on top of that, you have the cardio pre-breakfast and post-workout, and you also had, I was weighing my food, chicken, broccoli, brown rice, sweet potato was probably the food staples every day, all day. It got to a point that it just felt so miserable and feeling imprisoned while doing that, because you feel like you are a slave to your body. And I only imagine, oh my gosh, I can't imagine myself doing this for the rest of my life, nor can I imagine other people who may not have this athlete kind of discipline or mentality, and for them to lose weight and have to do all this restriction and deprivation, which doesn't feel good at all. And while you end up looking a certain way, first of all, it's not going to be sustainable. And secondly, you don't feel good necessarily. Just because you look good doesn't mean that you're going to feel good. And so I turned that whole thing around and have really stemmed from the philosophy of when you feel good, then you'll look good. And that's truly where the SoulBody Method comes from. And it's a method where it focuses mainly on feeling good and your own individual awareness. So it's not cookie cutter. It's more of an approach where I take 4 elements. And the 4 elements are SoulSet, mindset, nutrition, and movement. And for each of those components, it is truly about noticing what feels good to your body. And therefore, if you feel good, literally you have no choice in your body for it to manifest in a way that just looks really good on the outside too.
I love that. I love that quote. When you feel good, you look good. I'm curious if you will tell us more. Like, when you went through this body competition, what was it that drew you to do that? You know, was it the athletic part? Was it the wanting your body to be a certain way? And then what happened when all that shifted and you started focusing more on feeling good instead of looking good? Tell us about that journey and transformation.
Okay, so yes, when I was 19 years old, I basically started to become attracted to these very hard bodies, and I would see a woman, you know, that looked really muscular, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. I'm sure that I could totally do that, because I grew up as an athlete, and so I was pretty competitive. But the other part of it was that I thought that my body and my sexuality were really the only things that I had going for me, and it was, you know, I based my self-worth on the physicality and on the outside. I thought, like, literally, you know, that was what I could offer to the world and also to men. And so I think, you know, subconsciously it was very much part of that being wounded and feeling insecure. And all the insecurities truly stem from my childhood, where, you know, I was bullied from the ages of like 8 to 12 because I moved from Puerto Rico into the United States. I didn't know the language too well, and then I was living in a state right, you know, smack in the middle of the country where everybody was either black or white. And so basically I was, you know, there was lots of, I experienced racism, bullying, you know, I was spit on, called names, and so my self-esteem was shut down completely. I went from this beautiful, bright, shiny little star of a child while I was growing up in Puerto Rico to feeling completely just shut down and just left in the dark. And I think that part of this whole fitness journey was to break me out of that darkness that I was in and to allow myself to shine and to show up in the world as I came to show up in the world. And, you know, truthfully, this has been, you know, the best gift that I've ever received. I mean, truly, it is what has given me the knowledge and wisdom so that I can share it with the rest of the people about this whole, you know, weight loss and body and seeing their body as a whole different thing. You know, I think, you know, the body is truly here at your service, and it is your vehicle and it is your messenger. So it's your vehicle because it's what allows for you to, you know, express your soul throughout this life and express whatever it is that you want to in a joyful, you know, loving way and go for your dreams. So if you have a body that's not fully functional, that is not at its optimal, then, you know, you're less likely to have the courage to go and live, you know, those dreams that you truly want to live and do it, you know, with that much more brightness, I guess you should, you know, I should say, where sometimes we don't feel as confident showing up because maybe our body doesn't look the way that we would like it to look. However, I find that it's important to focus, instead of how your outside is looking, to focus all the time consistently on how your inside is feeling. And I think that the shift really happened when I was literally, after the competition, after I had like a trophy in my hand and all of that good stuff, you know, I was looking down into a peanut butter jar and I ate it like within less than an hour's time, and I was 20 pounds heavier within 1 month. And that's a lot, you know, of weight, so a weight that I had never been before, and especially, you know, gained it so quickly, that I said to myself, you know, this can't be it. I can't imagine living for the rest of my life like this, or teaching others that this is the way that they have to do it to have this body. And being a slave was certainly not the way to live. And so I made it my mission, my passion, to find a different way. And I searched for a way that wasn't stressful or extreme, but one that would feel really good and was completely sustainable. And I mean, I literally searched through thick and thin, and I found it. And part of that journey too, and which is what I can seriously attest, you know, this success to, is really loving myself. I think that the journey of I got a lot of self-help books. I joined a meditation course for 6 weeks. I started to really become aware of how foods were making me feel. Were they making me feel vibrant, energetic, and joyful, or were they making me feel bloated and lethargic and craving other foods? So I started to connect, my body to my emotions and how they're feeling, and I think that that's what led to this whole development of the SoulBody Method.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, it's so beautiful, and I love how you're seeing this challenge that you went through as really a gift, because it became a gift for yourself to not be slaves to your body anymore. It also became a gift to the world, because now here you are offering this and actually creating a methodology around your experience. And I have to say, that's just one of my favorite things about interviewing all the business heroines that I meet, is oftentimes the business that you create is based on your own journey in some form, whether that's pain or passion or some combination of all of that. It's just really beautiful. And I love what you shared about, not being a slave to your body, but it almost sounds like you decided to then partner with your body, or your body is actually this opportunity to shine and express who you are in the world, as opposed to something, that is keeping you captive. So I would love to hear a little bit more around the philosophy behind the SoulBody Method. You mentioned there were 4 pieces to this framework. There's SoulSet, mindset, I think you said nutrition, and movement. Is that right?
Yep, you got it. Yes.
So I'm mostly curious. I'd love to hear about all of it, but in particular, what is SoulSet?
Okay. Yes, I love that. So SoulSet is what I describe as the set point of your spirit, right? Because there's the mindset, and then there's the SoulSet. So the SoulSet is more specific towards what makes you tick as an individual, to pay attention to the things that make you happy and go do them. And it's a constant awareness of, am I feeling happy? Am I feeling joyful? And if not, so what are the things that I can do that would allow me to feel, really good in my spirit? So for instance, one of the things that makes me, light up is having fun and playing, like whatever that might mean to me, whether that's salsa dancing, whether that's, stepping outside into the grass barefoot, whether that's, swinging on a swing set. I mean, whatever it is that makes me joyful, it's so important to do, because when you are in a vibration of feeling joy, that means that all the other actions that you're going to begin to take are going to be in direct harmony with that joyfulness. And you're also, the way that you will receive the information of the things that you may be asking for in your life, you're able to actually hear them within that joyfulness, because the joy comes from love. So all you're doing is loving yourself and loving your spirit. And so, the kinds of things that you're going to want to do and continue to do is to feel good. And so it's important to, have that soul set approach to it, and even things like meditation bring you into that vibration as well, because when you're in meditation, you come back to your essence and to who you are. And that's part of the soul set, so that you can become a vessel.
Yeah, I love that. So important. It's like all we have is each day, and so to infuse in our daily experience those things that just bring us the most joy. And I love the examples you gave too, because I'm the same. It can be as simple as stepping onto grass. And for me lately, I'm like, what I need to do is just take my picnic blanket to the park and sit on the grass and sit on the picnic blanket, because it's one of my favorite things to do ever, is have a picnic. Like, it's not about, maybe I'll have lunch too, but it's just a picnic blanket in the grass. There's something about that. And looking at the clouds above my head. And so I love that. And then what about mindset? So there's soul set, and then what's the difference between that and mindset?
Well, mindset is the way that you perceive things. So, for instance, one of the things about mindset is looking at your body as not as a point of self-worth, or looking at your body as like, oh my God, look at this, and, having that kind of negativity, criticism, and self-judgment towards it, but rather looking at your body as a gift and looking at your body as that vehicle and that messenger, the messenger that truly allows you to become aware. So if you are sick, if you're heavy and dense, if you have dis-ease, if you, all those things that kind of the emotions that you start to correlate with that, is to have that mindset and that shift in perspective of what your body is just simply trying to tell you. And the same thing with viewing your body as a vehicle. And also the mindset part of it of having not so much of a goal, but having a vision for yourself is a whole different thing, because a goal is something like, I want to lose 50 pounds, right? And when you say, I want to lose 50 pounds, you're also saying, I am overweight, right? So you're also saying, I am fat, so it's almost the reverse. You're not saying it directly, but indirectly, that's what you're telling yourself. So as opposed to having a goal, I like for people to shift their mindset into visioning, into creating an ideal self. A lot of times we don't think about this, and it's so important because it will totally change the way that you do things. It's more of like, who do I want to be, as opposed to oh, this is my goal. It's more of I am. So let's say you were going to write a list of who you want to be, right? And I ask that people write it in the present tense, because every moment creates your future. So if you're writing it in the present tense, you're only setting yourself up for what is to come. So not to base it on the past. And so let's say I am vibrant, I am healthy, I am energetic, I walk into my closet and I love everything that I wear. Even if in your past that has not been the case, if you start to shift your thoughts into that, then that means that that's the kind of reality you're going to begin to create. So there's a whole different piece.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just got really excited.
No,
I love
totally.
When you and I met in person, I remember telling you this because I said, fitness, I'm so happy that you exist and that you do this work from this perspective, because I was sharing how my husband just hired a personal trainer, and he kind of in a joking way, but he was like, I want you to be a drill sergeant. I want you to kick my butt. I want you to yell at me. And it was like, he's kind of joking, but there is something about that feels that I don't know, he rises to the challenge. There's something about that's invigorating for him. And I remember saying that just so would not work for me, and I guess everybody is different. But because for me, really fitness and health and weight and all of that, to me there's actually this major spiritual component. And I'm like, where can I find a magical spiritual trainer that understands that, who would have a conversation and that from that perspective? It's completely personal growth to me is fitness. Even when I go to my I go to this dance class called UJam. It is so fun. If y'all haven't been there, you got to go. Anyway, it's like Zumba but for hip hop. It's so fun. So anyway, I go to that, and I always am having for myself. It's like, okay, how can I turn this into a personal growth experiment? I'm gonna practice going to the front of the room this time, or I'm going to practice making larger movements this time, or it's always this. Does that make sense? It's this weird sort of growth opportunity for me.
Totally. Yes, I love that. And it's always kind of it's just fun. If you can play with it and have fun with it, the easier it's going to become. But two, I also want to address, since you started talking about the exercise portion, I think it's also important, there's several factors, right? One of the major things that I teach about movement is that, first of all, you don't have to do a lot of long hours killing yourself at the gym and cardio. You don't have to really do that in order to achieve the body that you are looking to get, which is, if you're wanting to get leaner, if you're wanting to drop weight, and if you're wanting to lose fat, there's some more effective ways of going about it, besides adding components that bring fun and joy to your actual movement component, it's important to know that the body does need a certain level of a challenge. And as long as you challenge yourself and your body in a way that expands you, and what I'm talking about, expands your heart and lung capacity to the point that you're breathing pretty hard and panting, because without that challenge, there is no growth and there is no evolution. And if you can look at your body as this vehicle, what you're doing every time that you train it and you challenge it to a certain point, but not deplete it, okay, because there's a fine line, you're challenging it to have this capacity to carry your soul through life in a more seamless way, because you're able to handle stress and challenge with that much more ease. So it's really the philosophy, too, of, don't live to work out. You work out to live. And I think that that's such an important component, because, sure, I think Zumba is fun, and I think dance class is fun, and all that is beautiful, but you also need to incorporate some type of challenge for your heart and lung capacity. So even if you did, like, let's say you're running in place, and this is a really easy one for people to grasp in their mind. Let's say you start jogging in place for 30 seconds, right? And then you do that for 30 seconds, you rest a little bit, because by that time your heart is a little bit challenged. And let's say you want to do 6 of these sets of 30 seconds. The second one, you increase a little bit more in the intensity. The third one, a little bit more. And the fourth one, a little bit more. Always giving yourself enough rest time in between to kind of recover, but not to the point that you get cold. And the last one should be the most challenging one, because the first one acts as a warm-up, and the last set would act as like, let's push my body, even if it's 1 heartbeat more than I did yesterday. That's still challenging enough to help you grow and evolve in your body. And that way your body also begins to let go of the fat easier. So in a physiological way, that translates into, okay, I'm only using carbohydrates or sugars as fuel. Therefore, I don't need fat to fuel this kind of a workout. And so I can let go much easier of my fat, because I don't really need it to, for this kind of a workout. And so if you start conditioning your body to use that fuel versus, the long durational cardio, which mainly uses fat as fuel, then when you do long-term cardio, what you're saying to your body is, let me hold on to my body fat, because I'm going to need it to fuel my workout. So I think that physiologically that's important to understand, and also to understand it as, if you just train your body to do cardio, you're actually not really expanding your heart and lung capacity either, because you're training your body to kind of almost shrink your heart and lungs so that it can be more efficient. And so, so that's a whole other thing, but definitely as far as, pushing yourself definitely is key, but not overdo it. So like, for example, my workouts aren't really more than 30 minutes long. I train personally 4 to 5 times a week, 30 minutes a day. And that's it. Like, people would look at my body and think, oh my God, that girl must do like so much working out. And thankfully, it's really, I've gotten it down to a science that is more about working with my body, and my body is just constantly going to be this fat-burning machine, because I know exactly the kind of workout that it needs in order for it to be the most efficient in this world.
So when we find joy in something like an hour-long dance class, do we have a permission slip to do it?
Yes, and yes, and
Yay.
That's the thing. Yes, absolutely. So it's a matter of not conditioning your body to just do that in terms of fat loss and weight loss, because that's not truly what's going to get you there, although it will make you feel happy and it will add. So synergistically speaking, it is helpful. But I think it's more important to get about at least 3 times of this high intensity workout that I'm explaining. And it doesn't have to be long. Like, literally, I just described to you, it could be like less than 10 minutes. But as long as you do that, and you keep that balance, it's great. Just like a yoga class, as long as it's not, that all you do is practice yoga, then it's awesome. It's perfect. I think yoga is wonderful for, your mindset, your soul set. It brings an exercise in itself, brings about to the surface sometimes those limiting beliefs that we do have. So exercise is also one of the things that gets the emotions, because the emotions do get stuck in your body, and the exercise helps them get that energy and motion out, right? So because as you move and as you're in motion, you let go of the limiting emotions that are stuck and stagnant in your body.
Brilliant. This is so brilliant. And, I'm hearing this on several levels. I'm hearing it on a straight up, theological level. And there's just such deep spiritual wisdom in what you're sharing. And then the business geek in me is totally applying this to business, because when I hear you say, you said challenge yourself to increase I think you said your heart and lung capacity. But let's just say challenge yourself to increase your capacity. That's the same thing that we do in business, as it's like, and challenge yourself to increase your capacity. And it's like, whether that's with your body and challenging what your body is capable of, because the more you do, the more you're capable of. And then the little things or the things that felt big at one time, they're now just little things. And the same with growing ourselves from a business perspective, or any area of growth in our lives, really. So I love that.
Absolutely, yes, and it's so true. Like it plays such a role, in business, like you said, like in your relationships, in your, it plays a role in everything. So if you can do it on a physical level as well, because it's all tied together, then you are also going to have a higher capacity for business. And yes, you do things that challenge you in business to increase that capacity. But if you're doing it on the outside, it will translate and transfer into all those other areas in your life. Absolutely.
Yeah. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and go ahead. Ask me, because I can talk forever.
Well, okay. And if I'm cutting off what you were going to share, then please share it anyway. But what I wanted to hear was, speaking of business, and this is the business heroine community who's listening here, and obviously taking care of our physical body is important for business. And then there's also, like, what you have done is you're such an example of creating this amazing business that's very, purpose-driven, that's very mission-driven, based on your own journey, the passions, the struggles, all of that. And I just wanted to get any business advice you have for those listening who are working with the courage to go for their dreams, or maybe they've gone through a challenge and they want to serve people in the world with what they've learned. What have you learned as a business person throughout your journey?
Oh, my goodness. This is such a great question, and I think I can answer it in so many ways. I think, for one, it is really important to get the body piece of it, right? I think it's really important to get your body up to par so that you can thrive even more in business. When you feel really good about yourself, when you are that self-confident, you feel like you are unstoppable. And so I think it's really important the body doesn't require a long time of working out. So if anybody has ever thought, but that's going to take a lot of time away from, my business, I'm telling you, it can be done literally in 15 minutes or less. So, it doesn't have to take long. Secondly, I think being, going for it, knowing that it is much more powerful to fail fully and live in the direction of your dreams than to survive a mediocre life. Because I think risk-taking, what is the worst that can happen, right? You just have to take that risk. And I've taken so many risks in my life that is the only reason why I'm standing where I am today, why I've been on all these different, television shows and networks and interviews and, just doing things out of the norm. And truly the things that have helped have been being vulnerable, surrendering what doesn't serve me, surrendering the things that keep me stuck, literally letting those things go, and being spiritually connected. I think that those things are so important for those of you that want to take your business on a further level. I've had a student of mine recently who, after a few months of just doing my program, and it was about the body, but it's about so many other things. It's so about your soul, and it's so about, connecting with your life purpose, that he increased his business in like 3 months after doing my program, to a point that he bought his wife a new Lexus. It was just like literally transformative, because whatever it is, however you're feeling on the inside is what you're going to get on the outside. So, I think that, taking risks, being connected spiritually, working out, being in movement, challenging your body, not depleting it though, and nutritionally fueling yourself in a way that is loving and supportive too. And I didn't talk about that piece as much, but there is no one perfect diet for anyone. There is no cookie cutter approach. You can go that route, and you are surely going to, end up back to where you were, or not feeling that great about it, putting on extra pounds again, because it's just not sustainable when you are not aligning the foods with who you are as an individual. And so, for instance, I think it's important to understand what makes you feel good and what doesn't. If that food makes you feel bloated and lethargic, it's not being loving and respectful and honoring towards your body. And so if you can start looking at food more in terms of how you feel, then that's really going to be helpful. And then you'll spend less time and energy worrying about your body and worrying about productivity and the things that you really want to do, and being in action of the things that you really want to go for in life.
Yeah. Wow. So much wisdom. I feel like this could be a whole other conversation. There's so much here. And what I love is just that all boils back to the quote that you shared at the very beginning of our conversation, is when you feel good, you look good. And all of these pieces of the SoulBody Method, the SoulSet, the mindset, the nutrition, the movement, it all is so connected to just basically being the person you want to be and treating yourself as you want to be treated. Like, giving yourself these moments of joy to raise your vibration, looking at things from a perspective that serves you, feeding your body food that actually feels good, and giving yourself permission to just let go of like diets and restriction and whatever, and what you are told you're supposed to do, eat because that's the new hottest trend or whatever, and just really listening to yourself. And then this movement piece about challenging yourself to increase your capacity. That's basically a recipe for success in life. So you can see how it's a recipe for success in the physical portion. And like you shared, our outside informs our inside, and our inside informs our outside, and it's all works so beautifully together. This is, I'm so impressed. I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. I'm so happy we got to have this conversation. So how can we, the Business Heroine community, learn more about you and SoulBody Method, and basically get started, because I'm ready to go?
Okay. So you can visit the soulbodymethod.com. And
is that the SoulBody?
Yes,
okay.
the soulbodymethod.com, correct.
Great.
And you can get free gifts from me, and one is going to be a compilation of some of my favorite exercise videos that are quick, efficient, and to the point. The other one is going to be 7 steps to living the unstoppable you. And the third one is 21 foods that can make you fat that are sitting right in your kitchen, or could be. And I think it's just important to become aware of what those are. And then the other one, of course, is that you're going to be subscribed to my e-zine, which basically I send out weekly informational newsletters on inspiration, motivation, and all the different 4 elements that I spoke about. So I think that you're going to be connected, and it's so good. It's so inspiring. I just can't wait to connect with more people.
Yay. Yeah, I'm just really excited that you exist. I think I've probably said that a few times today. Like, it's just awesome. It just makes me so, so happy. It's like a completely new paradigm about how we approach fitness and health and all of that stuff. And so it's so in alignment with the business heroine vibe, which is, spirituality and business aren't separate, and life and business aren't separate, and your body and business aren't separate, and your body and life and spirituality, none of it's separate. It's all connected.
It's all together.
Yes, it is. And so thank you for carrying this piece in such an intentional way. And I can't wait to continue learning more. And thank you so much, Coach Yari, for joining us today.
Oh my God, it's been my pleasure. Thank you, Anne, and thank you for everybody that's also showing up and listening to this. So I'm very grateful. You're awesome.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
You have been listening to Business Heroine Radio for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out what's new at businessheroinemagazine.com today.